Hi there, Mystery Baker here. Thanks for tuning in. This is going to be a Cadbury's day. We're having a Cadbury's day at my house today, and I thought I'd share it with you. We're going to make a Cadbury chocolate cake, and I'm going to run through very quickly what you'll need. This is an ideal recipe because it's simple and it's fun and it's not complicated, and the kids can get involved, and obviously the kids will just love to eat it. So we're going to run through. So you're going to need 6 ounces of self-raising flour and 2 ounces of cocoa powder. And guess what? It's Cadbury's day, so I'm using Cadbury's Bournville cocoa powder, and this is ideal for baking. You're going to need 8 ounces of caster sugar and 8 ounces of margarine or butter. You'll need 4 eggs, 4 whole eggs, and for the filling we're going to fill it with chocolate buttercream, because it's Cadbury's chocolate day, and also raspberry sauce. But you can use raspberry jam, strawberry jam, chocolate, Nutella, whatever your favourite is. But I prefer raspberry jam with chocolate cake. I think it goes better with chocolate than strawberries do. That's just my opinion. Don't sue me. You'll need a 6-inch baking tin, and that's it. That's basically a run through of the recipe. So I'm going to clear up now and get ready to show you how to make the cake. Chocolate, here we come. I'll be right back. Okay, just before I get started, I forgot to say that you do actually need half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And what I do is I add it to the jug of eggs. So I add the liquid all together. So I add the eggs and the vanilla extract in a jug together. And then as they add the egg into the mixture, I'm incorporating the vanilla extract as well. Now this basically is a take on the Victoria sponge recipe. And knowing a little bit about history, I think it stemmed from Queen Victoria, who was just a little bit interested in eating cake and enjoyed the slice of cake or two in her time, believe me. And she used to have it as part of an afternoon tea. So this is a take on the Victoria sponge, but in a chocolate form. And it's very light, and because chocolate is quite rich, the lightness of the sponge really helps and doesn't make it as, I suppose, sickly. And I suppose the Victoria sponge cake is kind of a take on what we know as the pound cake today. Equal sugar, flour, butter, etc. But I've put less flour in this recipe because we're adding the cocoa powder, and that adds weight. So if you remove some of the flour, it should have been 8 ounces of self-raising flour because I'm using 8 of everything else. But because I'm adding the cocoa powder, I take away 2 ounces of the flour, bringing it down to 6, and then I add 2 ounces of the cocoa powder. I hope that makes sense. It will in the taste, believe me. If you were to add the full 8 ounces of self-raising flour and the 2 ounces of cocoa powder, it would be very heavy. Obviously, I'll list all of the ingredients below. So let's get started, shall we? Enough talking. More chocolate. Okay, I've quickly come back in. I've been creaming the butter and the sugar together, and I've just stopped halfway through the process. As you can see, and I hope you can see, it's a yellow colour. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the texture of kind of ice cream, or it will change colour. It'll change colour to a very pale ivory cream, or white even, almost white. And that's when you know the creaming method has worked. If you were to add the flour at this stage, the cake will not turn out the way it should. So this is the most important part of the Victoria sponge. So I'm going to keep creaming, and I'll come back and I'll show you the difference in colour. I'll be right back. I'm back. I've creamed the butter and the sugar together, and as you can see just by looking at it, it has changed colour and it's gone to a soft cream ivory white consistency, and it's very soft. It's very soft, almost like ice cream as it starts to melt, and that's when you know that you've done it right. If you do it any earlier and add the flour earlier, you'll have a disaster on your hands. It will be right. And this is my take on the method of the Victoria sponge. If you were to follow the recipe books, it's different. But this is my take on it because I've tried that method and I don't get consistent results. With my method, it tends to work. So I basically add the flour and the eggs in 3 parts. So at first I'll add 1/3 of the cocoa powder and the self-raising flour with a sieve. So I'll add 1/3, I just guess what 1/3 is, you know, I don't measure it. And I sieve that through, like so. Okay. And then I add 1/3 of my egg, which has had the vanilla extract already added to it, and I add 1/3 of my egg liquid, like so. And then I will cream that again until all of the flour and the eggs is incorporated evenly. So rather than bore you, I'll skip this step and I'll show you what it looks like when I've added it. I'll be right back. Right, I'm back. I've incorporated all the flour, all the cocoa powder and all the eggs, and it's time to bring in the tin. Now this is a mini cake. It's not going to be a huge thing, but it's enough. It's a 6-inch. Now you can use smaller pans and split them into 2, but I'm going to do this all in one. Why not? So I'm going to start adding the cake mixture. The cake tin is lined with some grease-proof paper, and I'm just adding as much of the mixture I can manage to get in there. Now it will take a little bit longer because we've added all of the cake mixture to one small tin, but hey, I can wait, and it just saves you messing on if you haven't got 2 tins of the same size. I just wanted to show you can actually make it in one pan. So now that I've added it, what you then do, using a metal spoon, sorry about this, my dog's going crazy. Using a metal spoon, rock the cake mixture back and forth. It's just making sure it's settling in properly, and push it evenly. You want an even spread. I mean, it will rise because it's self-raising flour. Oh, my little Lily is such a pain lately. But, you know, she's only little. What can you expect? The trials and tribulations of having 2 dogs. Okay, so that's evenly distributed. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Thank goodness I am back because there has been a power cut. So I'll put pictures in beforehand to show you basically what I've done. But the cake is cooled, it's in the fridge, and it's ready to rumble. It had risen over the lid, so I cut the lid off the cake so it's all flat and one level, and wrapped it and placed it in the fridge. So in this bowl, we're going to make the buttercream, and I've got 100 grams of butter. I've got 160 grams of icing sugar and 40 grams of, wait for it, Cadbury's Bournville cocoa powder, because this is Cadbury's day, and I'm going to beat that through. Make sure it's softened butter, by the way. And then once I'm happy with the consistency, I will add 1 tablespoon, yes, one tablespoon of milk or cream, depending on your indulgence here, and half a teaspoon, wait for it, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I'll do that off camera and I'll come back when it's done. I'll be right back. I'm back. Here's the buttercream, all mixed through. When you mix it up at first, it look darker, but once you add the cream or the milk, whichever you prefer, it will lighten up, but the taste is still there. It just gives it more of a creamier texture. So I'm going to set up now and show you how to put the Cadbury's chocolate cake together. I'll be right back. I'm back. I'm back with a vengeance. Now I've taken the chocolate cake out of the fridge. It's been there overnight actually. I tend not to complete cakes in one day because I think the cake needs time to rest. And I think cake actually, all said and done, tastes better the next day. So it's Halloween today. Not that that has anything to do with my Cadbury's fetish, but this will be eaten tonight on Halloween. And I want to cut it into 3 sections. Now you don't, if you're not a fan of buttercream, just reduce the buttercream recipe by half and just cut it in the centre and be done. But I'm a bit of a chocolate fiend, so I'm going to split it into 3 layers, simply because it's quite a deep cake. Although it's not very wide, it has height. And so what I do is I find where I want to be. Now use any knife. Whoa, this looks very Halloween. Find where you want to cut by placing some markers. So I'm just going to place some markers and I start at the top. I'm going to show you. And what I tend to do is I move the cake, not the knife at first. So I'm moving and just gently turning as I go. Okay, and it's the cake I'm moving. Sorry about this. It's the cake I'm moving. And eventually, as you do a complete 360, you start to move the knife inwards. And eventually, she says, that layer, voila, will come off. Okay, can you see? Yay! And then I'm trying to find my marker. Yeah. And then with the next marker, do the same again. So start by turning the cake and just gently moving the knife up and down motions. Okay, so you've basically done a 360. And then once you've done your 360, very gently move the knife inwards, still turning the cake. And eventually you'll arrive there. Can you see? There's a little bit of crumbs there. That's just crumbs. It's not part of the cake. It's just a little bit of the excess. But voila, it comes off. And place that down. And look, this doesn't have to be professional. This is for you. This is for you and the children and the husband or the boyfriend or the wife. This is just for you. So you can cut it any way you want. So I'm going to bring in my raspberry sauce, but you can use jam or chocolate or whatever, and my chocolate buttercream, and we're going to start filling the sections. I'll be right back. Okay, we're ready to rock and roll. So I've got my raspberry sauce here. Voila. But you can use anything as you're filling. Just whatever you like. It's your call. And I'm just going to place some raspberry sauce on the base. Like so. I've had this in the fridge, so luckily for me it's hardened and stiffened up a little bit, and we're going to very very gently spread that evenly around the cake. And the reason why I love my cake turntable is because it saves you a lot of work. You don't have to spin your body, you spin the turntable. And so that's a nice layering. You can add fresh raspberries at this point, or strawberries, or whatever, or your favourite fruit. Okay, so I'm happy with that. It's not a lot of raspberry, it's just enough to give it some, well actually raspberries, it cuts through the sweetness a little. That's why I like raspberries so much. Okay, so I'm going to move that out of the way. Actually, I'll just move the whole lot out of the way. Now this is the next section that we cut. Do you remember? Do you remember? And that's the next section, and we're going to turn it over because that's the section I cut. Okay, and I'm going to add some buttercream. Now you can just do it by just plonking it on and spreading it around with your palette knife. I'm going to use a piping bag. Okay, and this has got a Wilton 1A nozzle. I don't know if you can see. And I've just added some buttercream. And I'm just going to very gently go around the edge. Okay, you can flatten that off. And with the remainder of the buttercream, I'm just going to make some motions and fill in the gaps. Okay, I've got more. That's enough for me. Okay, so I'm just going to spread that now. Just rocking motions. Rocking motions. Now, if it was on a turntable, I would be turning it, but I haven't got it on a turntable today. I'm just swirling it around, filling in the gaps, basically. Filling in the gaps, like so, until you're happy with it. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. I don't want too much buttercream. Sometimes, especially because we're dividing it into 3, you don't need too much. Alright, so that's enough for me. Okay, and then I'm going to place it back, reversed, back on to the cake. Like so. Okay, so it's back on board. And I'm going to repeat the process for the 3rd and final layer. And I'll come back when that's done. And it's time to add the chocolate Cadbury's dairy milk topping. I'll be right back. Okay, home straight. Okay, I've put some chocolate into a bowl. This is the Cadbury's dairy milk chocolate. And it's great for melting. This is not going to be a ganache. This is just a chocolate topping that's going to go onto my Cadbury's chocolate cake. So I basically put this in the microwave, 30-second increments. So every 30 seconds, take it out, stir, put it back in until it's melted. Don't over mic because basically it will burn. So I'm going to do that now off camera, and then we're ready for the chocolate topping. I'll be right back. Well, hello. Okay, I've melted my chocolate in the microwave. I used a 200 gram bar, but I just used over half. I don't know if you can see, just over half. And I probably won't need all that. But hey, the kids will use that. They'll be in it. They'll be dipping their fingers in, pouring it over ice cream or over a waffle. So it's all mixed through, and I'm going to add it to the cake. Okay, so basically pour it on. This doesn't have to be perfect. This is for you. This is for you. And we start to move. I'm using a spatula. All right. You can use a knife. I'm using actually a palette knife. What am I talking about? And turning as I go, moving the chocolate like so. Keep going. You can't get enough. I can't get enough of this stuff. Can't get enough chocolate, man. Use as much as you can. As much as you want. And again, placing it on and trying to go to the edge, if at all you can. Now you can let it drip down. And I like that look, don't get me wrong. But it's not the look I'm going for. But if it happens, guess what? It happens and it's no big deal, all right? It is no big deal. If it goes over the edge, fantastic. Absolutely. And there we go. Now you can keep adding more. There's more in the bowl left. But I'm quite happy with that. Okay. And there you have it. Oh la la. My Cadbury's chocolate cake filled with Cadbury's buttercream and topped with Cadbury's chocolate. How's about that? Thanks for watching. I'm off to put this in the fridge and then it'll be eaten. Bye.